A very good morning to you. We appreciate you for, again, making that a very important decision to join us here on Global Morning. And it feels great to welcome you to the very last, of course, weekday edition of Global Morning. I am Uyi Agmofwebe, and today it's, those of us who are he for she, we also appreciate it when the favor is returned. Jumai is, should I say, blistering? Should I say dazzling? Should I say she's all up in lights this morning by way of the outfit she chose? You took your time, Jumai, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I just wanted something subtle, something simple, not too all out there.
Right.
But first of all, where are my manners? Good morning, Uyi.
Good morning to you.
And to each and every one of you out there. Good morning. It's a Friday.
Right.
TGIF.
You had to say that, right?
I had to. Although you know how our work schedule is, we do not have breaks because when others are having, it's different from our own pattern. But at the same time, we're thankful, we're grateful. Today's Friday.
Well, what more can we say? The week has gradually ground to a halt. I mean, week-wise, really, it's the last day of it. While we're being grateful, we have to also take our time to look at how far we've come with regards to the plans that we've all had to put out there for the week. But for us, we count it a privilege of service to be here this morning to just engage you in very topical conversations, again, establish context and perspectives regarding these developments. One of the big stories out there right now is that President Bola Tinubu later this month will be hosted by the world's number one royalty, if you'd like me to put it that way, King Charles III, right? We understand that there's going to be a lot of pomp and pageantry in this regard. President Bola Tinubu would be honored in a way that is not only special but spectacularly brilliant. There's so much of hula balu around it already, so much of, if you like, razzmatazz, as we say in the media. Okay. So you're wondering what exactly is going on here.
Exactly. But for me, it's a step in the right direction to have that kind of, that's very big. It's a very big recognition.
Right.
Or King Charles to actually have that sort of relationship. It's a bilateral relationship because two countries are coming together. And I'm sure it's going to be for the greater good of Nigeria when two high-profile individuals come to meet.
On behalf of their respective nations.
Exactly. So it means definitely there's some sort of good that will come out of it. Of course, his mother was someone that was all out when it comes to interaction, bilateral relationships, just having that familiarity with other nations also. And for King Charles to actually want to do that with our very own, our dear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for me, it's big.
Right.
It's a lot of people might have different opinions, but for me, it's big, and I'm sure it's going to be for the greater good of Nigeria, which is the most important, and of course, Nigerians, and of course, to douse the tension. I think we're shifting our gear to the United Kingdom because we know what the US who they are trying to have on us, but we got on our side. The Fiji Palace saying, God past them.
Of course. And just like Jumai mentioned, it's also important to note that Nigeria and Britain do have a long-standing relationship, all right? Time will fail us to go into all of that history, but the fact of the matter is, while on the one hand, question marks have been raised as to what extent does the relationship benefit Nigeria?
Yes.
Are we being, if you like, sidetracked or sidelined by Britain? Are we getting any value from the relationship? We must also understand that this is a relationship that started a long time ago. You referenced the late Queen just a while back. So there's a strong historical background to it.
Yes.
And this engagement is going to present all of us across the world the opportunity to take a second look at how we relate with not just the United Kingdom, but other sovereigns across the world.
Yes, and then just to chip into what you said, we know that they were our colonial masters at the beginning. So I can understand why individuals have their speculations.
Right.
There's one side-eye look, what's going on?
Suspicion.
What are you trying to do? You want to take us aback?
Right.
Do you want our colonial masters to come back and, does it have to do with our resources?
Right.
A lot of issues surrounding this, but I think Africans, we are wiser now. We understand that there's a line that we will draw. We now know our rights. Hey, we're an independent nation now. It's not back in the day where we were colonized and all of that. It's a different ballgame. I know they're part of the high powers and all of that, but at the same time, we now have a say, and we can actually, well, in a way, we have a say. But at the same time, I'm sure it's for the greater good. Nigerians are doing a lot when it comes to impact in other nations. Where you talk about being doctors, they're one of the best. When you call for burner professions out abroad, you will see at least one Nigerian. So we have made impact. It shows that we are intelligent. We're not dumb. We go there and we make things happen. So I am sure this is for the greater good. It's a bilateral. Of course, we already established that, but I think it's something much more bigger and much more beneficial to us. Our president is wise. We're not going to something that will detriment us as a nation. No, I think it's something that will favor us and move us forward, because everyone wants to be in good books, even in the eyes of the lowest individual in the country. And of course, 2007 is just around the corner. So we have to make things happen. I'm sure our dear president is working towards that, to prove a point that why he should come back into power.
Right, of course. And again, nothing is cast in concrete. Even if we have concerns, we have genuine, if you like, worries around our foreign policy framework and how we interact with other nations. These visits hopefully will also present an opportunity to say, let's take a second look at how we've been interacting with ourselves. All right, so we can find areas where we need to work stronger. But ultimately, Nigeria should not be seen to becoming weak to the table at this point in time. So Global Television will be looking at that development for you from time to time. And while the president is away, we'll also bring in foreign policy pundits here to help us look at what the issues are within this conversation. All right, it's loaded today. As always, we're going to be looking at the digital economy for you. What are the elements in that regard, as well as take a look at what exactly is happening within the political opposition fold in Nigeria. The ADC appears to be holding the aces right now on that front, as against the PDP that appears to be deepening into chaos in a manner of speaking every other day. We take a break now. When we return, we will unpack all of this for you one step at a time. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
for the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. All right, our starting point this morning will be the digital economy that we've talked about for such a long time. Now, this is a global conversation that is ongoing, and we're seeing manifestations in terms of how countries across the world, experts, and of course, big corporations are investing massively in this direction. However, back at home in Nigeria, how much of such investments are we seeing? Of course, for the most part, it is the private sector that's driving this conversation, not just by way of rhetorics, but in terms of putting their money where their mouth is. In the last few years, there have been talks around policy. How do we regulate? How do we better position the tech space in such a way that we can maximize the opportunities that it presents? However, the challenge today is in a country where Jumai cannot guarantee counterparts in other countries of stable electricity. That in itself already poses a challenge.
Yes, it does.
And then you talk about, access to funding. You may have an amazing idea that can change the world within a few days, but how do you get that, what business people call seed capital or startup funding to put it on the road? Those are some of the challenges. Yes. I look at a gentleman like Dr. Bosun Tijani, for example. I mean, a guy who had done so much in the private space before he got on to become the Minister of Digital Economy and Innovation today. I realized that he has a strong history.
Yes,
but
he does.
you also don't want to hear the tough times that he has experienced, which also poses a small challenge for him during his confirmation hearing at the Senate. That's a story for another day. But the point being made here is Nigeria appears to be lagging behind in many ways. We are seeing tech experts, people who are doing amazing things, changing industries, move out of the country because they feel while there's so much of opportunity here, access is a challenge.
Yes, it is.
The business environment is not so friendly, you know, and it appears government is playing catch up in terms of understanding how the digital economy works.
Yes.
And we do hope that the government under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu would, for as long as it stays in office, do more in that regard. And the good thing is we understand the president is open-minded about things like
yes,
this.
He is.
And he has a young gentleman, somebody who is an industry guy, so to say,
person.
exactly advising and guiding the administration in that regard. But there's a lot of work to be done.
A lot. I would not beg to differ when it comes to this particular issue, because when it comes to tech, truly, people just say Nigerians were learning when it comes to tech, because when you go outside the shores of Nigeria, you see that they have past us, and we're just starting. The world has evolved when it comes to tech, and we're just picking from where they have actually gone past. So that is why most individuals, tech gurus, tech guys, they prefer to go abroad because they know that their level of thinking and all of when it comes to tech, they're about the same level. Nigeria, we're just starting. So a lot of work needs to be done, and I'm glad, like you mentioned, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu understands that tech has evolved much more than what we know now. So putting in all that effort and having an individual who understands the tech scenario and how it works will play and go a long way in Nigeria's system. And it will really help basically. And of course, giving tech guys the opportunity to understand that, okay, fine, for as much as tech has come and it's evolving, Nigeria too has prospects, and we can actually be on the same line with our competitors or individuals outside the shores of Nigeria, and it will go a long way. So basically, let's just see how well it plays out. You know, my problem, like I always say, we might say, okay, fine, we're in support when it comes to, I will give the necessary fundings, I will give the necessary environment so that at least we can evolve as a nation, as Nigeria. But at the long run, it always gets shoved under the carpet. At the long run, you know, I guess it's something. For as much as we have fantastic, great ideas, implementation is a problem. Individuals who are to monitor this to see how far, because billions of naira are always spent in these sort of innovations or this set of startups and all of that. Once there is a support, but at the long run, it just dwindles down, and the next thing you know, it's half and half, and you just wonder what is all of this. But hopefully, there's a greater good that will come out of it, and of course, tech has come to stay. It's not going anywhere. But at the same time, we have a lot of work to do as a nation and individuals. They're tech gurus. I told you, Nigerians are very intelligent individuals who can maneuver a lot when it comes to these issues. But hopefully the needful is done, and we nip this in the bud and know that this is part of innovations, and it can pave ways and open doors for us as a nation, and of course as Nigerians, to get that respect. It's part of the rebranding that people are all talking about.
Incidentally, like Juma mentioned, tech is here to stay now. It's a phenomenon in itself. We see how it is redefining and driving different sectors, whether you talk about the service sector, especially when it has to do with payment processing. We're seeing quite a number of operators in that space. You talk about even infrastructure and health. Tech is right at the center of it all. So we hope that government continues to provide that what business people call enabling environments, whether it's policy, whether it's a friendly regulatory system, and what have you. And then, of course, private sector continues to ramp up efforts in terms of venture capital and all of the supports in terms of human capital as well. We're taking a break now, everyone. It's time to join Ramsey Enoch Agbo on Heart to Heart Inspirational.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching from, where you are listening from right now. My name is Ramsey. Let's talk a little bit. You know, a lot of people think the way they want to think, because everyone is entitled to their decision. Everyone is entitled to how they think. But then you have the right to think in a particular way. But then there is something I want us to consider today, inspiring ourselves, encouraging ourselves. What we are trying to achieve here is to set someone on track, give someone hope, restore someone's belief and faith in himself, in herself. What are we saying? There are things that you don't need to procrastinate about, that you need to start now. From where you are, using what you have, doing what you can, because nobody, all right, would want to have it all before they get started. If you're waiting for when you have it all before you get started, then it is a problem. So now, I want to ask a question. Let me ask you a question. How many dreams have died because someone was waiting for the perfect moment? How many dreams do you think have died? Even you who is listening, who is watching right now, how many of your dreams, how many of your plans have died because you were waiting for the perfect moment? Some will say, I will start when I have the money. Some will say, I will begin when I have the right equipment. Some said, I will take the first step when everything is in place. But when is going to be the time that everything will be in place? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves. But let me tell you something. The truth is this: there will never be a perfect time. The perfect time is now. All right? Arthur Ashe, the legendary tennis champion, once said, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. He didn't have the fanciest equipment. He didn't train in the best facility, but he had willpower and courage to start whatever he had. You see, greatness doesn't just wait for the perfect time. It doesn't care about perfection. It grows through progress. Every successful person you admire today started small. The difference between them and others isn't the talent, all right? It's the action, the move. Don't despise your humble beginning. Don't mind what people are saying, because people will say so many things about you. Whatever. Someone said his name is whatever. Whatever you do, whatever you say, people must talk about it, whether positive or negative. If you're doing well, people will still criticize you, because some persons will say, oh, because of his affluence, he's behaving like this. If you don't have, some people will still say, where is he looking at? Can't he see his mates? Can't he see what his colleagues are doing? The small things that you are doing in a big way one day will generate you income that you don't even expect. The bottom line is this. You need to tell yourself and say, enough is enough. I've tarried too long in this place, in this position, all right, in this thinking. You know, it's a process. It's a process. Success is a process. First of all, you need to conceive it in your heart. Then secondly, it needs to get into your head. Have it in your head, or else it will never get into your hand. Number one, it needs to be in your heart, in your head, and in your hand. I call it the triple H. The triple H principle says it must get conceived in your heart first. Keep ringing in your head, then it will enter your hand one day. But a lot needs to be doing. It's a process, just like the seed. The seed doesn't grow in just one day. It went through a lot of processes. The gold you see today don't just come out shiny, but then it went through a refining process, a heating process with fire, serious fire. The gold is being heated in serious fire before it's become what it is today. So whatever you're doing, that dream that you have, begin to do something about it. Begin to mix up with people who are going your direction, people who have your kind of dream achieved already, because that thing you're thinking, somebody already has gone ahead to do it. So you don't need to just sit down and be thinking, be procrastinating. The economy is not favorable. Nigeria, this is the country. If I was abroad, well, let me tell you the truth. It's not all about your location. It's not all about your destination, even though these factors play particular roles in your success, in your growth, in your achievement. But you don't need to capitalize on it. All right, and hold yourself back, because by the time you're holding yourself back, someone somewhere is already overtaking you, because the person believed in his or her dream and decided to make a move, despite the fact that they are not seeing the staircase, but they believe that their leg will land somewhere. All right. Risk taking is very important, but then if you want to take risk, let it be a calculated risk. Not the risk that will destroy you or claim your life. Any risk you're taking, it should be a calculated risk. If I do this, this is what is going to happen. If I do it this way, this is what is going to happen. But at the end of the day, this is where I am going to land, good or bad. That's how to take risk. You don't just take risk randomly and say, well, whatever wants to happen should happen. You should know that this thing that I want to do is two ways. It's either it happens this way or it happens the other way. But those two ways should be something that you should be able to survive, not that kind of risk that will end you in jail. Then that dream is already dead on arrival. That vision is dead on arrival. So if you want to take risk in as much as risk taking is part of the game, you need to be calculative. You need to put your sense together. All right. And you just need to know that every expert was once a beginner. Everyone started from somewhere, and they are where they are today. It's so beautiful talking with you. It's so nice talking with you in this aspect. A lot of people tell themselves, this is what I want to do. They start and they stop halfway. Some persons start and one thing comes up and they abandon that and rush on the other thing. But the bottom line is this: whatever you want to do, whatever it is you're doing, you should believe in yourself that you are a great man, you are a great woman. But then you need to put God at the center of everything that you do, whatever it is. Allah, okay, is supposed to be in charge. And everything you want to do, don't succeed at the detriment of the other person, because nemesis will not allow that success see the light of day. You might be successful today, but how long is that success going to be sustained? Will you be able to sustain it because you did it on a very faulty foundation? A house built on a faulty foundation never lasts. We heard of building collapse at different times. How did it end? Because the foundation was faulty. So your success in life, your achievement in life should be on a very solid foundation without you stepping on toes. It's not necessary, okay? Because the plan that God has for you is of good. So do your best and try everything that you can and get started now. Get started now. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, December, you should be able to sit down and say, yes, this is what I have done. This is what I have achieved. All right. It might not be 100%, but at least 75, 80, 85, 90 is still a very good one. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful time. I want to see you at the other side of success so that we can celebrate together, because the world is waiting for you to manifest your success. Thank you.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television. All right, you're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning on Global Television. Hope you're well inspired with the heart-to-heart inspirational with Ramsey Agbo, talking about the hearts, the head, and your hands. And then at about this point is the newspaper review segment. And then we're going to start with the first paper of the day. It's the Daily Monitor. And above the nameplate of the Daily Monitor, it reads here on page 2, FX market reforms raise capital inflows by 200%, and that's from Credoso. And of course, on page 4, it says PSC approves promotion of 13 CPs to AIGs, 17 DCPs to CPs. And of course, on page 4, it says FCCPC tackles airlines over Yuletide fares, demands refund.
And still on the above the nameplate of the Daily Monitor here on page 3, it says here that Gen W, the Evolved Women, UBA, celebrates female leadership enterprise. Of course, still on International Women's Day, women need to be celebrated. And of course, it says court bars Ondo governor from vying for another term. And the writer there says, judgment premature, a distraction from governance, says Ayedatiwa. And if you're wondering what that is all about, you have to go get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor. And then, of course, the star story reads, why we dumped our former parties, and that's Tambowal, Abaribe, and others. And the writer says, Senate gives Abaribe till next sitting to reconsider his move, take definite decision. And on the foot of the Daily Monitor, it says, security chiefs brief Tinubu on anti-terror operations. And for you to be well abreast with all the major issues making rounds, go out and get yourself the Daily Monitor and find out what all of these headlines entails. Next, we have Disclosure News. Over to you, Mr. Uy.
All right, so let's see what we have right there on Disclosure newspaper. Just above the name mast, it says with the rider, with the kicker, 2027, ADC now leading opposition party as 9 senators, 7 reps defect to party. That's the Disclosure news. All right. What's more, the big one here says blame game as power generation dips to 3,940 megawatts. The story, again, still on the Disclosure newspaper, has 2 riders, TCN, Jenkos, Discos, trade blame as banding system collapses. Gas supply shortage forces shutdown of power plants. Quite a sad development. Losing a 16-year-old son to sickle cell disease was most painful to me. That's one of Nigeria's foremost actors, Ikeria Anunobi. If you have seen that video, so emotional. I saw just a bit of it, and I literally felt bombs on my back.
Yeah.
Just seeing the video and the sort of expression that she puts out there.
It's very sad, I must say. I watched the video yesterday also. I had to reshare because it was creating an awareness, enlightenment about sickle cell anemia, which is a disease. And it's so sad that the woman said in pidgin English that if people are listening to her, if you're like, don't listen, check your genotype, that this stuff has showed her in the Pigeon Palace shaggy, and she will call the B word. And then it's just unfortunate that most people still do not check their genotypes and they go ahead and get married. It's real, and please, people should take precautionary measures. If your SS and the individual you're marrying is AS, please do not marry. You find your heartthrob. God has made a man and a woman. You will find yours. It doesn't have to be that person. Not just you, but the children that you will have. It's so painful to see them go through all of that.
Right,
it's very sad.
Well, let's make progress now, everyone. It says here, court bars Ondo governor from contesting 2028 Guba polls. It's getting interesting with regards to the gubernatorial ambition of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa from those states. But on the hunch, there's a chance he would escalate this to the appeal court. Yes.
Definitely.
The Now Fund extends loan application portal for some institutions. Read up those details on page 11 of the Disclosure newspaper, as well as other details here. Not quite many, but you can find a way to wrap your head around them. All right, so that's all from the Disclosure news this morning. Next port of call is the Daily Sun newspaper.
All right, now the Daily Sun newspaper, beside the nameplate on page 26, it says court bars Ondo Governor Aiyedatiwa from seeking re-election. And like we said, definitely he's going to escalate this to the appeal court, because, you know, no one wants to stand down when it comes to election, and especially our politicians. No one wants to say, okay, fine, I agree, let me stand down, let me not. But no, they have to fight it to the letter. All right, below that now on page 28, it reads here, pardon me, on page 22, it says FCCPC moves to prevent petrol price manipulation. And we have two riders there. It says airlines may refund passengers over price fixing. Electricity, fintech top consumer complains. And the star story on the Daily Sun says drama in Senate as wave of defection continues. And we have three riders there. It says Tambuwal, Abaribe, Kingibe, 6 other senators crossed to ADC. And the second rider says 22 reps dump PDP, LP, NNDP, YPP for APC, ADC. Akpabio threatens to declare Abaribe's seat vacant, and that's on page 6 on the Daily Sun. And below that, it says Middle East storms may rage, but Nigeria will stand, CBN governor. And you wonder, what does Nigeria have to do with all of this? But let's just see.
It's a global economy now.
Yes, it is. And then, of course, the writer says, backs reform, urges you to embrace innovation. Okay, that's on page 2. And on page 22, it says, Governor Mba rejects claims of high taxation in Enugu. And on page 6, it says, Tinubu approves more equipment for military support. And the writer says, meet security chiefs, IGP amid surge in attacks, summons fan DG again. And on page 25, it says, motorists, commuters groan as patrol hits 1,400 in Lagos, 1,550 naira in Abuja. But I've not bought at that cost, but this is outrageous. I think I bought 1,100 and something, and I can't remember. But at the same time, 1,550. It's getting close. The prediction of 2,000.
And you know how market forces can be dynamic?
Yes.
And how they react to things like this. And a lot of speculation is ongoing.
A lot. Goodness. How are we going to maneuver around this? I do not know, but hopefully an intervention should come quickly, because a lot of people are going to be burnt by this. You know, I read an article that says even the high, they're wondering what's going on. Middle class wondering. Do we have middle class now? It's just a rich and the poor.
They say, well, not as we know it.
Not as we know it, right? But at the same time, I hope there's an intervention, because really, Nigerians, we need an intervention.
We do.
We need an intervention. But hopefully the needful is done, and let's be hopeful. Let's be patriotic, and let's believe God.
Let's keep going.
And keep going. Like I always say, like you've given me the name Ambassador of Gratitude. I laugh every time I remember. But let's be grateful and hopeful and know that everything is going to be all right by God's grace. Okay. All right, let's move to the next paper. And of course, it's the Guardian. And we will run us through that.
All right, so let's bring in the Guardian. That's incidentally so loaded this morning. 3 headlines right beneath the nameplate here. Top left first with a picture of David Mark, the chairman of ADC. It says ADC criticizes Tinubu over democracy is a game comment. But isn't that what every politician believes, really? Defections. 9 senators, 12 reps dump parties. Nigeria loses 50% of feed to waste as stakeholders urge large-scale farming. Then a big story on pages 4 and 5 has a kicker that says Hippocratic betrayal, how fatigue, poor accountability make medical mistakes routine. So who is checking for us? ICPC gets nod to analyze electronic devices seized from El Rufai's residence. That's an ongoing investigation. Shawore leads Free Nnamdi Kanu protest in Abia, false military presence. Middle East crisis. We are monitoring prices to protect Nigerians. That's a declaration from the federal government. NIMET flags Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, others as high-risk states for meningitis. Just the other day, Juma and I were here talking about Lassa fever. Now we're adding meningitis to the park. So it's a whole lot of work within the health sector.
Yes,
so the NDDC had better braced up with sleeves rolled up. All right, one here with a picture of a man who can be best described as embattled right now, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa from those states. It says called Baz Aiyedatiwa from seeking another term in 2028. Oil rebounds above $100, millions displaced as Middle East crisis bites harder. Tinubu approves new military hardware, reviews anti-terrorism strategy. Long overdue, but better late than never.
Yes.
Those are your headlines this morning from the Nigerian, the Guardian newspaper. Coming up next now is the Nigerian Tribune, and Jumai has those headlines.
All right, now in these words, the Nigerian Tribune is loaded. And of course, above the nameplate on page 22, it says, Appeal Court affirms Oluyede as PDP governor candidate in Ekiti. And on page 6, it says Nigeria in far stronger position to navigate renewed global shocks. And that's from the CBN governor. And it says hails 200% rise in capital investment inflows in 2 years. And on page 22, court bars Aiyedatiwa from seeking another term in 2028. Of course, that story is on all the major headlines. We've been stating that from the beginning. And of course, the star story below the nameplate, it says Middle East war disrupts fertilizer supplies, puts food security at risk. And there are two writers there. It says Iran's new supreme leader vows revenge, orders straight on Hormuz closure. And it says we are monitoring fuel price volatility, and it says here FCCPC, and you can find the read on page 3, 5, and 6. And here it says Tinubu meets service chiefs, and that's on page 7, and it says rep move to ascertain territorial status of Iba Island. And 9 senators defect to ADC, 12 reps join APC, and it says again, APC, ADC, and it says Tambawal, Abaribe, Kingibe, 6 others join ADC in Senate. Accord, NDC gets 1 each. And the health says scientists warn mobile phones used by food vendors could spread infection. Okay, that's on page 3. And go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast. So when I read the health sector and we hear different issues when it comes to that, I'm always stunned by it. So how? And if you're wondering how does mobile phones used by food vendors could spread infections, I think you should go out and get yourself a copy of the Nigerian. Go and get yourself a copy of the Nigerian Tribune, flip to page 3, and you get all the informations that you need. Next is the Daily Trust.
All right, let's go right there. 3 of them just beneath the nameplate, top left first. Court bars Ondo governor from recontesting in 2028. Troops kill ISWAP commander, 20 other terrorists in Yobe. Sokoto, Zamfara, Kano, others listed as high risk for meningitis. The Star headline reads, power outage may worsen as gas supply drops. Again, we're back to this gas supply issue. ADC dislodges PDP in Senate as Tambawal, Kingibe, 7 others defect. Rainfall destroys over 40 houses in Kogi. That's quite catastrophic.
Yes, it is.
Airfares may rise as aviation fuel hits 1,835 naira per litre. So on the one hand, we're talking about the regular fuel, but now the aviation fuel issue is back on the front burner on a very worrisome note. 181 Nigerians repatriated from Libya. You would find those details on page 25. Incidentally, those are your headlines from the Daily Trust. You do well to read details if and when you pick up a copy, as we move on to the Punch newspaper now.
All right, now the Punch newspaper above the nameplate, it says poverty rate jumps to 63% after subsidy removal, and that's from Report, and that's on page 23. And beside the nameplate, it says terror attack, Tinubu approves fresh military hardware after security talks, and that's on page 18. Now, it says here, Disu Egbetokun, I never dreamed of becoming Inspector General of Police, and that's on page 7. No one ever does when you attain this sort of heights. God has a reason for every single thing. He takes us it takes us by surprise, and that's why God is great when it comes to issues like this. You never expect it, but it just comes. And the Star story says states demand forensic audit of $8.8 billion crude for loan deals. And that is on page 2. And beneath that it says NNPC faces fresh pressure over heavy crude-backed loan transactions. And it says FAAC flags crude-backed borrowing or PERC deductions. And it says here states want legislative's approval for future crude for loan deals. And on page 23 it says Nigerians most exploited by telecom energy firms. Am I surprised? No. And that's on FCCPC. Right. And of course, court bars Aiyedatiwa from contesting the 2028 governor election. That's on page 44. And go out and get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper and well abreast with issues making rounds. Next is Nigerian News Direct. Over to you, Mr. Lee.
All right. The first one here says with the Kika Oyo 2027. Plot to oust Adelabu thickens, ignites renewed internal crisis on page 3. A new Electoral Act amendment bans dual party membership, prescribes 10 million naira fine. In fact, the new law says both in some cases. All right. Then the big one tells us era of naira devaluation over. Cardoso declares as reserves hit $50 billion. Says Nigeria recorded 200% surge in capital inflows between 2023 and 2025. What more do we have? The bottom here, it says Senate demands military base in Benue following resurgent terror attacks. Juma, don't you think it's time that a military base is established in Benue, given the spate of attacks? I mean, remember the Yedwada attacks the other time that even, for want of better words, forced the president to personally visit, condole with the people, reassure them of security alongside the governor of the state, Reverend Father Hassan Ali. But just when we thought things were beginning to look up, all you hear almost every other day in the news now is that attacks back to back are still happening in Benue State.
Yes, it is. And I think this is a step in the right direction to tell all of that. It's very important that let us completely wipe it all out. With the presence of the military, I'm sure it might not go away completely, but it won't be as bad as back to back as it is. But hopefully the needful will be done. For me, that's a step in the right direction.
Of course.
A barracks there will make a whole lot of difference.
For the better.
For the better, yes.
Let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper now, everyone.
All right, now the Vanguard newspaper, and on page 21 we have 2027, Obi, Atiku, Amechi working together to stop APC. You see, when I read captions like this, it makes me go take a back and say, wanting to stop APC or wanting to see how you can make Nigeria better, to overcome hardships, bring the people together. You know, there are other things than plotting and conniving and doing all of these things. There are bigger things in front of us. You can't put all your energy in bringing down a particular political party. That's not making a point. When you make a point is when you see how you can do what they are not doing differently, that can actually, in your mind, can make headway, can be better, can improve the lives of individuals. Not all of this. I don't think, because these politicians, that is why we see thugs who they come out and, you know, cause a lot of ills in the society, miscreants, because they do not have a clue. They just feel they are loyalists, and you cause harm to individuals and to properties. And these politicians, they know where they meet and they discuss and they talk and they are friends, and yet, well, I don't know. Well, like I said, the orientation and our mindset.
But I see politicians laughing at you right now, Juma. I'm sorry. They're laughing at you because it would interest you to know. I mean, I've observed, I've spoken with politicians, and we have seen their pattern. It might be a little shocking to know that a good number of these, if you like, A-listers in Nigerian politics believe this country is irredeemable. It's hard to say. They believe Nigeria is irredeemable. Don't be swayed by the activities and all of the, you know, whatever it is, the fronts that they put out there. They believe Nigeria is irredeemable. We've heard leaked audio recordings of serving governors, former governors, ministers who are in cabinet or had been in cabinet at that material time. You see, you can't divorce an individual's thoughts from the things they say. People talk from how they think, all right? So when somebody says certain things, you can match it precisely with how they think, their perspective, their conviction, who they are, and stuff like that. So I'm saying that to say that it shouldn't come as a surprise that politicians are obsessed with how do we unseat Tinubu, how do we run the APC out of market, when, like you stated, the idea should have been how do we move our country from point A to point B for all the right reasons.
Exactly.
How can you actually achieve that if the motive is not right? Who is talking about how that between so and so year, we had so and so in our reserves, dollar, naira was at this point, foreign direct investment was at this level, but today this is where all of these are, and our plan is to move it from here to here, and they're showing you data, they're showing you statistics, they're showing they're showing their work plan, because this is not just about rhetoric, it's about, that's what the private sector guys do. They give you their 10-year plan and they tell you what they'll be doing every quarter to attain that 10-year goal. But politicians don't do that.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. I that's why I said, you know, when the likes of Peter Obi in the party, ADC, and you know, when he comes out and he says, he talks about the blood of Nigerians, he talks about all of these things, there should be a backing when it comes to redeeming Nigeria. And then when you hear things of coming together and trying to unseat it doesn't make sense. It's my own personal opinion, and I'm sure most Nigerians will think the way I do, because hey, it's not all about the
fighting the party of the day.
Exactly, it's not all about that. It's about you as a party coming together. Like I said, the heavyweights are in ADC coming together and making a difference. Like you said, there should be analysis, there should be graphs talking about 3 years ago or 10 years ago, we're here. At this point, we're doing great here. But what's happening now? All these analysis should come into play and tell us what you can do differently and why the ADC is better to rule in 2027. That should be the motive and that should be the goal. Not thinking about how to bring down the APC, whatever. Once you get elected and you are in that seat and you become the ruling party of Nigeria, automatically you have done whatever to the APC. They're out of power. So you don't need to stress about that. You need to concentrate on how to make Nigeria better. Move on from point A to point B, like you mentioned. Take us to a better level. A lot of individuals in Nigeria cannot even afford 3 square meals. Issa Aliyu Shatta said something yesterday. Part of the ways in which the economy can be balanced with all these fuel issues and all of that is that Nigerians need to re-strategize. Now, if you are eating 3 meals a day, excuse me, you have to go to maybe
cut down
101 or just 1, and you have to program your mind to be good. Do you think about the children, what they are going through? Some kids, I would tell you for free, cannot go to school 5 times in a day. They can't. Why? Transportation. With this new hike of the paper said, I have not bought that. I think the last time I bought fuel was 1,100 and something. In one of these, I don't want to mention the filling station. But once it gets to 1,550 naira, do you think a lot of people will go to work? Do you think your salary or the salary individuals are going to collect is good? All the money is going to be placed in transportation. We've never spoken about feeding. We've never spoken about some fees are just... Kids are going to go on holiday soon. We're going to be talking about 3rd term school fees. We've not talked about that. We've not spoken about health. A lot of people can't even afford good health care. They are home. They prefer to just do the normal self-medication. People are going self-medication. They take herbs now because they cannot afford hospital bills. The consultation that you buy that card of 500 or 1, they can't. They'll prefer to eat with that money. It's bad. So now you tell me the heavyweights are coming together because you're thinking of how to bring down the APC. When the APC, they are trying as much as they can to make the country better, to see why they should come back in 2027. And you say that is the motive now. please do not kid me. Kid me not.
It is well.
There are better things to look at. Let's look at the bigger picture.
Right.
Tell us what you can do differently. Tell us why in 2007 we should come out in our mass and we should vote the ADC. Why? Tell us what you can do. Tell us the reforms that you are making. Tell us why you will bring this from point A to point B, from point C to point D, and then we'll know why we are going to vote and make our lives better.
That's right.
And then you tell me heavyweights are coming in to unseat the APC. We don't care about that.
Well, can I say Juma is in her element? Well, I think she is. Okay, so we're looking at the Vanguard newspaper.
Yes, we are.
You were the one that brought up that headline that sparked this intense conversation.
Yes, you did. All right, now it says here, troops recapture Borno community, kill terrorist commander, 9 others in Yobe attack. And that's on page 7. And then, of course, on page 8, it says here, FGOK's new military hardware as troops intensify anti-terror war. And then, of course, the Star story says Middle East war anxiety mounts as oil price hits $100 per barrel. And that's on page 5. And then below that, it says Tinubu to politicians, bow to rule of law on Electoral Act. And then, of course, it says, the writer says, defense signing amid IPAC pushback. I had no choice. And that's on page 9. And then, of course, on page 6, it says, Abaribe, Umet, Tambowal, Ireti, Kingebe, 5 senators defect to ADC. And it says, APC now 87 senators, ADC 9, PDP 6, NNPP 1, NDC 1. And it says, Lagos police partner to ensure security officers see clearly during duties. That's on page 10. And here it says eligibility court bars Ayedatiwa from seeking re-election in 2028, and that's on page 10. And of course, my best is the Mr. and Mrs. column. So please just go out and get yourself a copy of the Vanguard newspaper and be well abreast with issues making rounds. And we have the New Telegraph.
That's the last incidental that we're doing for you this morning. It says Cardoso, Nigeria in strong position to navigate global shocks from the New Telegraph newspaper. All right, federal government seeks reduction in cost of fuel as crude oil prices decline. Okay, then we have the big one. Drama in Senate as Abaribe, Ume, Tamboa, 6 others defect to ADC. That headline has got a handful of writers there with it. So we go further down. Middle East crisis. We are working to protect consumers from pump price manipulation. That is credited to the FCCPC. Court bars Ayedatiwa from seeking re-election. Quite a big story across papers today. And the last one at the very foot of the paper says childhood cavities may signal future heart trouble. So parents, you've got to look out for cavities in your children. So oral health has never been more crucial than it is right now. On page 29 is where you'll find details of that study. And that's how we draw the curtains on the newspaper review segment this morning. Just to remind you that Global Television as a media entity or the team here on Global Morning does not in any way contribute to these headlines or their details. We bring them just the way they have been published by their respective publishers. Let's now join Ogochukwu Omobuno on social bars.
Our language, our vibrant culture and colorful tradition, our industrious and hospitable people. This is Nigeria, a nation that prides itself in abundant human and natural resources. From east to west, north to south, we sparkle, we shine, we have a common bond. Fellow Nigerians, let's do away with ethnic, religious, and regional sentiments that divide us as a people. God has blessed us and empowered us to find strength in diversity. Let's make our faith and way of worship our source of unity as we build a nation that stays united. Nigeria, together today, together always. This is a public announcement brought to you by Global Television.
When social media speaks, we'll listen and we'll bring you the extra. It's your one-stop show for trends, truth, and the tea everyone seeks. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get the extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global Television.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time to look at buzzing issues on social media. And today we are moving over to Edo State, Auchi, Edo State. A tragic news from Edo State as a man reportedly lost his life after delivering a ransom for 3 girls kidnapped at the Igbira camp area in Auchi. According to reports, the victim's body was later discovered on a motorcycle. Authorities are investigating the circumstances surrounding his death as the search for the kidnapped girls continues. Let's take a look at the video.
A visit to the residence of the deceased ransom bearer at Old Market Road, Jatu Zaru, revealed a somber atmosphere as sympathizers continued to visit the family to console the wife and relative of the victim. Neighbors were seen going about their daily activities quietly, while friends and relatives gathered to mourn the tragic incident. One of the sympathizers, who identified herself as a sister to the wife of the deceased, said the man had volunteered to deliver the ransom demanded by the kidnappers for the release of the 3 girls abducted at the Igbira camp houses along Igara Road in Auchi.
Gometi imirematire pamo bonemona imale ananogedese on the community why mo ire yime ikwena akere valero radu obuye kware degu ekwena.
Meanwhile, reacting to claim that the victim was a member of Uzari Vilatek group under the Edo State Security Corps, the Sector 1 Commandant, Mr. Yusuf Agbobware, who spoke off cameras, denied the allegation, stating that the deceased was not a member of his squad. He said security operative later traced the location where the lifeless body of the alleged ransom bearer was discovered. The Edo State Command is yet to react to the incident in Jatu Uzaru. At the time of filing this report, the whereabouts of the 3 abducted girls remain unknown. From Jatu Uzaru in Isako West local government area of Edo North, McDonald Irunokai, ITV News.
That's a sad story, a tragic incident indeed. Well, let's take some comments from social media as regards the story. And the first comment is coming from Betieto. And Betieto says, I think he knew one of them, I think he knew one of them him to cover up. Okay. Second comment is coming from Fear Not Broker. And Fear Not says, they won't accept transfer as ransom. Still, they won't let who brought ransom to go. Or more, Nigeria don't they end? Oh, well, Nigeria is not ending soon. Anytime soon. The world isn't ending anytime soon. Please, we have a lot to do. Well, that's a tragic one, and definitely we have to talk about it today on the show. And I am with Uyi Agbomofoibe. Good morning, Uyi.
Good morning, Ogochukwu. Quite a sobering story there, I must say. You know, I look at this and I realize that Edo State, like most other states across this country, has seen perhaps what I'd like to call a little more than its fair share of insecurity. It was in that same area, if you like, locality, that we saw how a doctor and his brother were also kidnapped the other time. Yes, in Auchi, and the guy's wife came to solicit for not just sympathy, but prayers, as well as, if you like, public support financially. And the next thing we knew is the guy was murdered. All right. Obviously, that story didn't end well. So the list is almost endless in terms of these sort of nasty incidents. But then you look at this one, for example, you're asking, how is it that girls have been kidnapped? The person who is delivering a ransom is killed and his body left hanging on a stationary motorbike. What could have led to that? Now, quite a number of theories have trailed this very sad incident. One, there are those who believe it is possible that he recognized one or more of the assailants or those proxies who were supposed to pick up the ransom from him. Of course, when that happens, chances are that person is not going to live long enough to tell the story, all right? Because that's a compromise. It can undermine the entire team. That's number one theory. The second theory is it possible that he posed a threat to them, and in a bid to be preemptive, they had to take him out? Could that have been what played out? Nobody was there really, so it's pretty much difficult to put a finger precisely on what must have transpired between them. However, it is not our prayer at this point in time that these attackers, these kidnappers, and every other person who has played one role or another, directly or indirectly, be arrested by law enforcement, so that one, we understand what exactly has happened from day one till the end. Second, which is even far more important, that those girls who have been kidnapped be released unhurt. All right, that has to happen. And then ultimately, which is the third, for justice to take its course, as we say. But in the final analysis, the question is, are we going to keep this wheel spinning, where somebody is kidnapped and the next thing we are waiting for is let them call and ask for ransom? It has become an industry and nobody's talking about it. Someday we're going to do a report on this and put the data in front of you. So you see first the lives that are lost. Then you also see the amount of monies that flow in the direction of kidnappers. Where are those monies going to? Who controls, who midwives the channels through which those monies are transferred, whether electronically or by hand? And how much of success have we recorded? Law enforcement, for example, in terms of apprehending those behind this, whether they are politically exposed people, whether they are fifth columnists in the armed forces and the police or whatever it is. But by all means, we must put an end to this. It's been here for far too long.
Thank you so much, Uyi. Just this morning on my way to work, I listened to the Minister of Defense when he was talking about insecurity and also what they have done and things they have put in place to help combat insecurity. And I also listened to some callers calling, because it was a radio program this early morning. So I listened to some persons when they said, how long are we going to keep putting things in place? And what exactly is our Air Force doing? Because, you know, they could just ready this place, you know, via air and also get, you know how they do it with drones. Get this location of these people and know what exactly they are going to do to these people. I think everyone is tired. Me, for one, I am tired. I'm tired of listening to, oh, we've set this aside, we've done this, we are putting things in place. We want to see the action. We want to see the result of all of these things you have put in place, because we've been hearing this for far too long. We can't keep, you know, paying ransom. People don't have this money. They go borrow, they do all manner of things just to pay for ransom. And just like you said, who and where is this ransom going to? Who is aiding and abetting this kind of evil in Nigeria? I hope all of this really comes, you know, to an end very soon, because it could be anyone. It could be, you could be here in Nigeria, in Abuja, and of course it could be your parents, anybody, your relative. We are not praying for that, but it could be anyone. So that's the reason why we have to, you know, lend our voice to talking about insecurity in Nigeria. We can never overemphasize on this issue. Well, thank you once more, Uyi, for your contribution to this topic. And yes, this is where we close the curtains for Social Buzz here on Global Morning. And I'll be leaving you in the hands of Jummai and Uyi as they usher us into the discussion section of Global Morning. So stay with us. I am Ogochukwu Mobno. Good morning once again, Nigeria and the rest of the world. TGIF, bye for now.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Osoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Osoro.
On global television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. It is called the digital age for a reason. At the turn of the 21st century, we've seen so much of innovation in that space. And fast forward to today, for example, amongst other initiatives, the federal government of Nigeria says it's going to connect public schools to reliable, high speed, if you like, broadband internet for apparent reasons, amongst them being to be innovative and drive the economy from multiple fronts. However, what are some of the headwinds that both stakeholders and those who are supposed to be the beneficiaries have to grapple with? There's the issue of power. There's also the challenge of the cost of data in Nigeria. Plus, to what extent can the federal government, or for any reason, including the states, the subnationals, be able to sustain this sort of initiative that we understand is apparently capital intensive? This morning, to help us find some sense in this conversation, we're joined by Good News Akowo. He is the Programs and Partnerships Officer at Wood Lab here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Good News would like to say a big thank you to you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
All right, Jim and I are just going to pamper you for the next couple of minutes with a handful of questions. But I think we should begin from where Nigeria is right now. Apparently, we are not a Silicon Valley yet, as it were, but we need to give ourselves a pat on the back in terms of how much of innovation we've seen regarding tech across sectors. When you look at this industry today, what would you say are some of the challenges we're dealing with?
Thank you very much. I think that is a question that has been some of the bore of our existence for the last couple of years. I think one of the major challenges we're facing is access to internet, access to electricity, as well as access to information source where some people a vast amount of people within the country don't even know how they're able to access help in the first place.
Right.
Sometimes these opportunities are available, sometimes these opportunities are free, sometimes the federal government, the state government, the local government and other government authorities are putting in so much resources, bringing in a lot of development partners to ensure that this digital bridge is closed down, but then people don't have that knowledge, people don't have that information at hand to be able to harness some of the things that are available. So do you want to say something?
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
So I think that we have come a long way. When you look at where Nigeria is as a third world country, we have come a long way, and that digital divide is slowly closing the gap.
Right.
So I'm very excited about what the federal government is doing, a lot of the resources, as well as other private sector players are doing to ensure that we close down some of these challenges and some of these infrastructural problems that we have within the country.
Right.
I'm just saying, how can digital technology help when it comes to improving economic development, and of course in developing countries like Nigeria, that's the innovations and all of that. How can it improve it in a way?
I think for me, the digital economy, people try to use that as a buzzword, but I try to bring that down in the very layman's knowledge. What is digital technology, or what is digital economy?
Right.
I think we live in a country where a lot of people have access to social media. They don't know how they're able to harness that, whether in search of jobs, whether in search of improved education, or whether that's being able to utilize it to improve their businesses and all of that. So when you talk of digital technology, you're talking about how are you able to use the very basic tools, not the tech tools, not the big tools, but how are you able to use your phone to scale your business? How are you able to use your phone to ensure that some of the bottleneck that you're experiencing in school as a university student doesn't just stop you from ensuring that you're planning ahead for your future. What does that mean for the primary school teacher who's currently underpaid, the person who is unemployed, the person who doesn't even have the skills? Now, when people say digital technology, I try as much as possible to tell them, please don't just say the word. Don't make it look like it's just tech, or it's just coding, it's just a tech bro.
Exactly.
Digital technology is for everyone. I try to define it as, the basic skills that you probably need to thrive in today's economy, whatever that means. Whether that means, just using your phone, whether that means, utilizing your laptop, whether that means, having, taking courses on places like Coursera or Microsoft. Those things are completely free, and all you have is, maybe all you need is data, or taking advantage of some of the opportunities that are currently made available by different corporations, like, my organization in partnership with the American Towards Corporation, where we currently have over 100 digital centers across the 36 states and the FCT, where communities within underserved areas can come and take those digital skills for free.
Really? Fantastic.
Yes. So I think for me that the opportunity is there, right? And digital technology means a whole lot of different things to different people.
Exactly.
So being able to hone down on what you need at this very time, whether you're a student, whether you're a business owner, whether you're unemployed, for me, I think that should be the conversation rather than just digital thing, because everybody hears digital technology and just think,
it's all about the tech world.
It's all about the tech world, and I'm not part of that. So it's just a particular sector.
Oh goodness, I would love to ask, do you think we do not really understand what it entails and what we can do with when it comes to tech, when it comes to innovations? We're just streamlined to one particular segment. We do not understand how big and how wide it is and how beneficial it can be to us. Do you think we need more awareness? Because some individuals do not really understand it in a whole.
Absolutely. I think that the conversation around awareness is one thing that can never be overemphasized. Awareness is one of the things that, we try as much as possible to bridge the gap. I have, based on the different projects that we've worked with, we've had to partner with, local government chairmen, village head, community mobilization, workers to ensure that we take this message to them. Like I mentioned earlier, the part of the project and the initiative that we are doing with the American Towards Corporation is, digital communities where we are encouraging this learning. So from what a typical facility looks like, you have internet, you have AC, you have computers. So we basically tell, our facilitators, tell these guys within the community, gather as many people around, speak to schools, let these people know that they can come and use this place, they can come and take advantage of the opportunities that are currently available. So for me, digital technology is not just a sector within the economy where people are like, I'm a nurse, or I'm a plumber, or
a trader.
Exactly.
I don't know what this is all about.
Yeah, that doesn't concern me, or I don't need
that.
I don't need that. But then I feel like, first of all, we need to be able to create that awareness that this is something that cuts across every sector. It's the same way with health. Right, so it applies to everyone as long as
you are living and breathing, irrespective of the fact that you live in a country like Nigeria, you need this to be able to survive even within the very states that you are in.
But someone will say, goodness, I beg to differ in all of... Would you want to say something?
No, but Elvis, go ahead. I'm going to ambush him.
Let's ambush him today. Someone will say, I beg to differ, goodness. For as much as this has come to states, it has evolved when it comes to being beneficial to the minimal individual in our society. When it comes to anyone, a plumber, a trader, a businesswoman, someone in the urban area, rural area, anyone you can pass. But there are some major challenges when it comes to network. And without that, how can we actually function? And it can be frustrating at times. How can we navigate around this, even when this has come to stay?
Absolutely. I think that you made a very important point. I was at an event yesterday where we had the Honorable Minister for Communications and Digital Economy. He spoke very amazing words that really resonated with me. We don't have to hide from our challenges.
Yes.
We have a lot of problems within the system as a country where I don't think solving them would mean hiding from them or not admitting that these problems exist. Yes, we have a lot of communities where the internet penetration is very low. We have a lot of communities where they don't even have access to internet.
Exactly.
Access to what we're talking about.
Very true.
You have some communities where even communication
is a barrier.
Is a huge barrier. But I think slowly, a lot of the network providers they are trying as much as possible to see how they are able to penetrate some of those areas. That notwithstanding, we are also trying to ensure that because a lot of the digital communities that we're talking about, they're not in urban areas. They're in rural communities. So they're in places where people need them. And then organizations like ours, organizations like projects like the ones who are doing are ensuring that what exactly are some of the things that we can help, right? So we also have projects that we've done in the past with the Adamawa State Government, Katsina State Government. A lot of the concerns or a lot of the challenges and some of the conversations have been around, so maybe there's no network in this village, there's no network in that community, but what kind of incentive can we provide to ensure that people can be conveyed through it, whether that is in form of a transportation stipend, whether that is provision of buses, whether that is large refreshment, whatever the incentive can be to ensure that nobody is left behind. So people are not marginalized because their communities don't have access to internet and all of that. So I think that the first step for me is that we admit where we are as a people and that we have certain infrastructural limitations when it comes to internet, when it comes to data, when it comes to access to computers and all of that. But also the next step is about so what are some of the things that we can do short term, medium term,
and long term
to ensure that we bridge that that divide that currently exists, where we're not abandoning a huge set of people in a certain area and only concentrating some of the solutions and innovations to other parts. Because when we say Nigeria is a big part of everybody, rural and urban areas.
Great. So let's talk policies for a minute, right? We seem to be very, if you like, short-sighted from a policy standpoint about how we drive critical sectors, including tech, for example. I'll give you an instance real quick. So we had seen in this country, for instance, under former President Goodluck Jonathan, when we had a certain Mrs. Omobola Johnson heading the same portfolio where you have Dr. Bosun Tijani right now. And we saw how, she was the pioneer minister when that ministry just came full stream. We saw the idea she brought on, we saw initiatives, laudable, commendable, and what have you. And today we have another gentleman there who is an industry guy, if you ask me, understands the industry, all the dynamics around it. The question is, we may have policies today, but most times we see what they call policy somersault. So President Bola Tinubu at some point leaves office, another person comes in, the same happens in the Ministry of Tech and Innovation, Digital Economy and all of that. How do we sustain, particularly from a private sector standpoint, the gains that we recorded so far and continue to scale as we move forward?
So I think for me, that is something that we are constantly already trying to do. Since 2020, since the COVID period, we've had partnerships and buy-in from different state governments. So we have the Katsina State Government. We've also done things with the Adamawa State Government, the Anambra State Government, and we're also actively trying to collaborate with different state governments. Why is this important? The reason is this: we want to be able to build a system, build a structure that outlasts tenures, right? We want to be able to have something in place where the next person comes in and just makes the system better.
But are policy makers thinking in that direction? I mean, the think tanks.
No. I think that a lot of our policies support growth. I think that a lot of times,
as a country,
yes, it does support growth. However, I think that the core bane of our problem in the country is that when we have changes in government, you have different priorities for that particular government. Certain things they either want to focus on, or they want to take their time on change, make things different, make things better in their own vision, in their own idea. And I think that for me, it all comes down to the buy-in of the different, the state governments. That's the first thing, because I believe that development really starts in the state. I think the federal government has been clear on where it wants to be when it comes to digital technology. So now it's left for the state government, and we've seen a lot of state government actively taking bold steps to ensure that some of these challenges or some of these problems move from policies to actual implementation. Of course, this takes time. This takes a lot of funding. This takes a lot of human capital development, and this also takes a lot of institutional structure systems in place. So, for example, everyone has their different approach as to how they want to be able to achieve or drive down the digital divide that currently exists. But how can we harmonize? How are we able to share insights, challenges? So one person makes a mistake, another person doesn't have to make that same mistake. So I believe that sustainability can be created by, first of all, having the buy-in of the state government, and then the development partners can come and share their insights. This is what worked in this state. This is what didn't work. These are some of the challenges that we implemented, and these are some of the blueprints that we think can help in such a way that we can have replicability of success when it comes to some of these initiatives that can be backed up by the policies that are being made within the house.
I want to talk about strategies now. Now, what strategies should Nigerians adopt to fully put in place for digital economy for national development? I know you've spoken a lot about what you've done, the collaboration, bring individuals together, for everyone to be aware, creating that awareness and ensuring them that, hey, this is a place, it's accessible here, you can come learn here. But what do you think are the strategies, though, for national development?
So I think the PPT framework is one that I believe it's very simple, but I think if it's followed to the letter, it can really bring huge development. The PPT framework is the people's process and tools.
Okay.
So the first part is the people.
Exactly.
You want to be able to identify who are the people that are needed in order to really drive this change. So from the policy makers, like you mentioned, to the state governments, to the teachers, to the people, to the development partners, to the very beneficiaries who are going to be needed, because you realize that a lot of times you see that the state government are willing, but then the people within the community, they are not
lackadaisical.
Exactly. So you see that even when we say some of these programs are available, people don't come. So you need everybody within that within the full value chain to be able to buy into this idea, and also to ensure that all of the effort and all of the steps are being trickled down from the very top to the very beneficiaries. And then processes. Now, one of the most difficult challenges within the Nigerian ecosystem is the different bureaucratic processes that exist, especially during project rollout or state entry. You realize that something good is coming into your state, and then you move around 3, 4, 5 offices within 1 year and not do anything, right? So what are some of these processes that can be better, right? So when we hear, okay, so you can let us know in advance, these are the people we need to meet, these are some of the things we need to put in place, there's some of the permits, there's some of the things involved, so that during the preparation, during the planning and rollout of this project, all of these things can be put in place.
Exactly.
Then the final one for me would be the tools, right? Like you mentioned, we talked about access to internet.
Yes.
I also think a lot of things that we disregard is security. I feel like in a lot of places people want to be safe first. People want to be safe first.
Exactly.
People want to be safe first, and then when they are safe and they're secure, they want to talk about okay, so where can I don't have a phone, I don't have a computer, I don't have a laptop, I don't have internet, so what are you talking about? So we also want to ensure that a lot of these tools are available to ensure that, okay, you say you want to teach people tech, and you're going to write in a marker, right? So yes, we might not have 100 computers to give out to maybe 100 schools, but we can put in 100 computers in a center, right? And say, okay, there are people from this local government, you can come in, okay, can I give out 2,000 naira stipend to say, okay, it might not cover for everything, it will not solve the problem, but it might start something. It might help to encourage, it might not cover your transportation.
Very true.
Right. But it might serve to encourage someone, okay, look, I mean, these people understand the reason why I can't come here, but I'm still going to be able to do this because I know that this is for my own growth. Of course, there are a lot of, other things that can be done, but I believe Nigerians' problem is not so big and so complex. If we can do the simple things right and the simple things correctly, we will be able to drive change on a large scale.
Now let's talk about the consumers now of telecoms. Of course, we understand that access to data is still a challenge. It has become a luxury of some kind. Last year, there was the noise, in a manner of speaking, around the proposed upward review of tariffs regarding data bundles. Of course, we saw how there was some astronomical increase in that regard. Nigerians, the consumers in particular, tried to resist that move. It never worked. The NCC intervened, and today the rest is history, as they say. However, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Council, FCCPC, is now saying that telecom sector was one of the sectors that exploited end users the most, coming from a report. I mean, nothing is more authoritative right now. So how do we strike a balance of some kind between the value we get for services that are data specific and what we are paying? I mean, I use data, for example. I want to see that the service I get is commensurate with what I'm paying for it. So by what metrics do we measure?
So I think that the service providers, first of all, we have to understand that they are a private organization.
So they are profit-oriented.
Yeah, so they are profit-oriented. However, I am not backing them at all.
Right.
No, of course I'm not. I know how much I bought data.
Right.
You know how much I buy data on a monthly basis. However, we also need to be able to understand that as we are as a country, we need to move from things like data and internet access being a luxury good to a basic good. When you look at the developed countries, you look at Germany, you look at the US, you look at Canada, you look at the costs of their access to data as related to their earning potential, you realize that it's very small. But it might be more expensive than Nigeria, but when you compare that with their earning potential, everybody can afford it. Right. Now, we need to move as a people, as a country, if we really need to bridge the digital divide from data, internet being a luxury commodity to being a very basic commodity. That is very easy for me to sit down here and say. That's very easy to say, okay, let's make data affordable, let's make it accessible to everyone. But the question always remains, how do we ensure that balance between profitability, and availability to every single person? And I believe that, that is what some of the companies are trying to do, meeting with the different, government agencies. There's also something I know for sure. The MTN Foundation, they are major partners, or they are ATC's major partners. They are part of the people who ensure that we have, internet access, right, to a lot of these centers. So while I will not sit down here and, defend a lot of their prices, a lot of their, prices, I can also see some of the things that they are doing than the ones that I am aware of. And some of
by way of corporate social responsibility.
Exactly. So they provide as high as 125 gigabytes to some of our centers monthly, right? So we can have some of those corporate social responsibility turned up, right? So that I know that it probably will not move the needle as much as it should, because not everyone will get to benefit from programs like ours. But I think that a lot of things can still be done to ensure that when it comes to conversations around data, around internet access, move from a luxury conversation to more of a universal and basic need that is a right for everyone, regardless of your earning potential in the country.
We see what digital creators are doing now. I mean, it's obvious, even though we know a bit of regulation should come into that space in terms of the quality of content from a moral and ethical standpoint. Maybe that's a conversation we can push to another day altogether. But for today, for example, we are hearing that part of the new tax law strongly recommends that digital creators and those people within the innovation space should pay taxes. Nigeria is a place where, as it stands right now, we're not very big on systemizing processes. So my question is specific. How do we ensure that those who are creators, whatever it is they are creating, right, pay taxes, but more importantly, be certain that we are fair to them, or the tax laws are fair to them in terms of how they pay? Because the real concern is most of them are now saying that government has no idea how I got started out, right, in terms of startup capital, in terms of energy, in terms of even equipment, for example. All right, and these things don't come cheap, and the dollar factor is always present. In terms of access to equipment and what have you. How do we strike an equilibrium in such a way that if I'm a creator, for example, I don't get exploited by a government because they see the money coming, they see the YouTube money, the Facebook money, and then they want to come get a chunk of it, get a piece of the action, having no idea how I got all of this on the road?
So I think I just want to clarify that I don't think any Nigerian is ever opposed to paying tax, because we all,
including creators, right?
Everyone in the country is not supposed to pay taxes. The issue and the bane of the concern has always been that what do I get for paying these taxes, right? So as a digital creator, or someone who is a digital creator out there, it's like, okay, fine, I give you 10% of this earning, what do I get in return? And I believe that the government can do a lot better when it comes to being able to, utilize a lot of the resources that they are, trying to widen the tax net to ensure that some of the people paying the taxes, like the digital creators, are harnessing from, they are harnessing benefits of these taxes. I'll give you, for example, let's assume I earn a certain amount, so let's say maybe 2 million from my YouTube streams or what have you, and the government says I'll get 20% of that. That's cool and fine. But will I get electricity, because I need electricity to be able to create content?
Exactly.
I need data. What are you doing with the high cost of data that I'm paying for? I need probably my road card. I need other infrastructural amenities,
social safety elements.
Exactly. I need security to be top notch. That I know that if I'm paying so amount in taxes, I am having other parts of my life being catered for. So I think the concern has always been that we are the ones who provide ourselves with water. We buy our fill in the absence of in the absence of electricity. We pay for a lot of things that the government is expected to handle.
Right.
So a lot of people are saying, if I'm already paying taxes and I'm not seeing anything, what is the evidence that if I pay more, you are even going to use the resources that you have in better utilization to things that would benefit us as a people. So I think that of course you have a lot of creators and a lot of people saying, okay, look, this is fair, this is not fair.
Right.
We can have a debate on that, later. But I think the major concern is that if you put your best foot forward as a government to say, okay, look, I'm going to start providing a lot of these basic amenities first, right? You'd realize that when the issue and conversation around taxes come up, the pushback would not be as much.
Talking about, let's just digress a bit, but still in the same conversation. Now, for someone out there who is listening and saying to his or herself, for as much as digital economy is fantastic when it comes to innovations, when it comes to evolving, it has come to stay. But this platform as a whole, how can it create job opportunities for young Nigerians and improve entrepreneurship?
Okay, so I'll answer that in two folds. When we started, when we took over the digitalization projects that we're currently doing in underserved communities, we realized that we were dealing with a lot of young people who had, first of all, communication issues, who had not even seen what a computer looks like.
Are they the Gen Zs, or who are
they? They could be Gen Zs, they could be millennials, so it was, everyone between the age of
12 to 40. Okay. So when you communicate with them, you understand that there is a long way to go. Exactly. So whether that is for the student in the secondary school, in the primary school who are sitting on the floor, or who have never seen a computer before, they will be expected to use a computer to take JAMB, to be able to enter university, or whether it's for a someone who is applying for a job and doesn't know how to accept a Microsoft link, meeting link, right? You will find out that no matter what cadre everyone falls into, you have a challenge that needs fixing, especially as we are as a country. So you have an organization who wants to roll out a hiring process. You hear 30,000 applications, right? And from that 30,000, how many of them are really employable? So you have that challenge, and then everyone needs to be able to take an inner assessment as to where you are. Right. We have a lot of resources currently available. You have courses free on Coursera. You have courses free on the Microsoft training platform, right? We have courses that are targeted at different people. We have courses for entrepreneurs. You have courses for students. We're also currently implementing a program called the Rev Up Women Initiative in partnership with AfriLabs. Part of this program is to empower female entrepreneurs in Abuja. It's a 12-week program with the skills that they need, and also provide them with access to funding opportunities. Now, I understand that when you are in need, you also have to be careful for what you look up for the organizations. So are you on LinkedIn? So I understand that social media is a place where you go and have fun, but are you more intentional with some of your social media searches? I understand places like Instagram and Twitter can be for more fun, more casual conversation. Yeah, but places like LinkedIn will give you more access to some of these opportunities that are available. So, what are some of the courses that you can take? What are some of the events that you can attend? All of these are for free, right? We have digital centers, around the 30, or ETC has digital centers around the the 6th state and the FCT. That could also be some of the starting points, right? And then I think that if you go to the atc.wootlab .ng platform, that's our dashboard, you'll be able to see which centers are available within your location. You can be able to see the addresses and all of that to see if this match proximity to your particular location. There are a lot of resources out there, right? A simple Google search, a simple ask on ChatGPT would help you. I don't believe that as long as you have a smartphone and as long as you have access to internet, or as long as you know someone that has a smartphone that has access to internet, you can access help.
This thing about tech, digital space, regardless of what your thematic area is becoming more interesting by the day. And we're seeing how it has opened up the space, increased opportunities for young people in particular. But let's now talk about indigenous thinking in this regard. As it stands today, I can almost vouch my last month's salary, which has gone, by the way, that all of the devices you, Jumai, and myself have this morning, including these laptops, they are, if you like, offshore ideas, all right? There's nothing indigenous about them, not even 1%. Is it possible for us to, at this point, whether Nigeria as a country or Africa as a continent of 54 nations, all right, become a bit more radical with our thinking regarding technology in such a way that we can begin to innovate in producing devices, gadgets? For example, we see what a couple of, if you like, local entities are doing with automobile. Can we replicate that sort of thinking, all right, in a remarkable way in terms of mobile phones, computers, tablets, and what have you?
Absolutely, yes, we can. But I don't know if I can ask you, do you know how much the cost of fuel is? I said this morning.
Okay, can we tie that to this question?
Exactly, and the reason I ask that is because when you say production of gadgets, production of phones, you need a lot of things in place. You need, you need the access to funding.
But do we have the thinking in the first instance? Because I would think that's where it starts from. Are we thinking in that direction?
Oh, yes, we do. A lot of young Nigerians they have that. one of the things that frustrates a lot of that process is the lack of access to funding, the lack of electricity, the high rating tariffs, right? The manpower and the resource, the human capital resource that they actually need.
Right.
So do we have the right thinking? Yes, we do. But then the right thinking isn't what produces fund, it's the implementation. What are some of the processes that needs to happen to move from this amazing idea you have on your head, that you have on a beautiful PowerPoint slide, to actual implementation? We're a third world country, there's no hiding from that. And there are lots of things that you need in place to be able to harness the full potential of what it would feel like for someone to have an amazing idea. Oh, I have an amazing idea that we can use to craft that, would improve our employment metrics, employ a lot of people, creates jobs, and, just harness the level of technology. However, what are some of the things that are keeping us back? So do we have the thinking? Absolutely, yes. However, we are all in this box where it looks like the idea has to stay in the box because of some of the challenges that, we currently have within Nigeria as a society.
I want to follow up with that now. I mean, you've talked about funding as a challenge on a number of occasions in the course of this discussion, right? We've seen people like, tennis greats, Serena Williams, for example. We've seen Mark Zuckerberg, whether in person or through one of his special purpose vehicles, so to say, come into Africa to invest in tech-specific initiatives, right? People say, well, those are clear indicators that big names in the industry across the world are now reposing more confidence in what we are doing back at home. But talk to us about venture capitalists and how much they believe in what we are doing, and in real terms, how that is translated to funding support for African-led startups.
Okay, so I think that over the last 5 years, we've had a lot of funding, especially from international partners. Some of them you mentioned. I think we also have funding from, I don't know if you know about the IDICE program, that's for the digital and creative sectors. I think it's funded by the African Development Bank. We also have a lot of NGOs internationally who are pouring a lot of funding within Nigeria. Especially within the last 5 years, we have a lot of platforms that people can just go search and apply. I think funds for NGOs is one of those platforms. I think there are also many more. The funding is available, but unfortunately, when you have a society where more than 70% of the population is poor, it's an issue. So you have maybe 120 million people fighting for the same small purse. Right?
So it's highly competitive.
It's very competitive, and no amount of funding at this, or with the amount of funding available, that number will probably just move just by a little bit, right? So there's a lot of processes and things that need to be done to ensure that when funding, pours into the country, right? A lot of people, or when people apply and have access to this funding, it doesn't look like just a drop in the ocean.
Right.
And part of that, is to improve our human capital development index. When people are hungry, no one is thinking about innovation, or no one is thinking about anything big. People just want to, am I fed today? Am I going to be fed tomorrow? And all of those things. So I think that the funding is there. However, when you compare that with what is needed, so for example, you need 5 billion to do a project and you have 5 million. The money is there, it's just not up to what you would need to be able to ensure that everyone has access. But in terms of do we have this funding available? Yes, we have. But when you look at the amount of people who need this funding, the disparity gap is very huge.
I'm going to take us back now. Now, for individuals who are into small, medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, and they're saying to themselves, okay, goodness, you've spoken a lot when it comes to digital economy. You've spoken a lot when it comes to what it brings to the table, how beneficial it is to each and every one of it. But how can it be beneficial to these individuals, these small and scale medium enterprises? How can it help them to transform their businesses to the next level? I know you mentioned that you have workshops and all of that are free, but how can it in a way?
So I would want to speak directly to the woman out there in Sokoto, the man out there in Cross River State. the digital economy is for every single person, and your very first goal is to be able to drive profits, to be able to ensure that your product gets to the market. And what is the easiest and the most basic way to do that is social media, utilizing the power of social media. But I understand that a lot of people are already trying this and, you know, having a lot of difficulties. But then when you look at a lot of, you know, Nigerian businesses, how do you improve your operations? How are you able to utilize, you know, whether it's WhatsApp AI or some of the productivity tools that you have available? You go to Wuse Market now and ask the woman in the market, how do you keep your finances? And she doesn't know really, right? And I'm talking the basic woman that sells, you know, ugu in the market, sells plantain. So, okay, fine, you make sales of so thing. How are you able to document that and have a history of that? How are you able to do that with, you know, whether it's the notes, just a notes, the notepad on your phone? How are you able to track, you know, the finances of what you're paying your employees, right? How it's coming in. Things as easy, as long as you have a phone, you are in the digital economy, whether or not that phone is connected to the internet, right? So we can move from being able to use, you know, WhatsApp for your customer service to be able to use WhatsApp to, you know, track your, you know, finances, to be able to use WhatsApp to reach out to your, you know, your customers, to be able to be like, oh, okay, thank you so much for coming. This is my phone number. If you ever want something like this, right, I will give you a call. I had a call with one of the local vendors that I usually buy foodstuffs with for the very first time. She said the first thing she told me that, oh, she's going to save my contact and she's going to call me. That is digital economy. A lot of people think it has to be the big things. It has to be the laptops. You need to have sophisticated. It's the small things. What does
that they're already used to.
Exactly. So the small things like, okay, I got somebody's number. I'm going to follow up with this person. This is a potential client, you know, waiting. And this could be applied to everyone. The woman that sells snail in the market, the man that butchers, you know, goat meats. You're in your store. You're not having sales. Are you checking up on the people that, or did you even give out your number to the very people that, you know, have been buying from you? Right? Are you giving them, you know, oh, hey, I just wanted to check up on you. I have not seen you. This one I've not seen you in the market for over a month. I hope all is well. That tool you're using there is a digital and creative tool, and it's part of the digital economy that we're talking about. We can, you know, go on and on about, you know, maybe move it a little bit intermediate and all, but for me, if I'm talking to a small business owner, as long as you have a cell phone, it doesn't have to be connected with the internet. Yeah, the internet. You are in the digital creative economy. You can use it to, you know, to track your finances. You can use it to, you know, ensure quality customer service, right? You can also use it to ensure that some of your processes, you know, are well managed and more efficient.
Great. So let's talk about the side of it that's very troubling, right? The issues around compromise, if you like, cyber security concerns, right? So today, if you look at, I can't put a finger on a number, but I'm sure we have hundreds of thousands, maybe a couple of millions of point of sale terminals, all right, so in the hands of vendors. Not too long ago, last year in particular, the Corporate Affairs Commission did say that, look, if between now and so time, you're not registered, you're not formalized, you don't have the required paperwork to operate a POS point, you'll be blacklisted and so on and so forth. We also saw another measure to say that, look, if UI, for example, has a POS terminal in Abuja, it would be unusable, so to say, outside of the FCT, all in the bid to ensure, cut down on the possibility of compromise and exploitation, unauthorized access, and what have you. It has become more like, on one hand, we're seeing that creating a lot of job opportunities. People are now meaningfully engaged, whether you're doing it as a single, like a standalone business, or is complementary to your primary business. We see that happening. On the other hand, we also see it becoming a challenge. We heard of cases where POS operators were killed by robbers, sometimes in broad daylight. Has it not become a case of a curse and a blessing?
I feel like everything in the country has become a curse and a blessing. So a lot of the things that when innovations come in, you must always have the negative part of it, you know. Yeah. Everything in life it's exactly that same way. But however, I think that policies and measures would always chase after innovation. So things would have to be put forward first, and then when a lot of those challenges happen, we try as much as possible to mitigate it. You talked about security. You know, how can we make, ensure that places are more secure. We have those systems in place. What are some processes that can be put in place to ensure that whether we're able to track flagged transactions, and all of those things. However, a lot of these things always have to come after some of these interventions, some of these innovations have been rolled out. So yes, they do have their, bad and their negative insights, but then that also poses a task where so these things are happening, we can't throw away the baby with the bath water, right? So what are some of the things that we can put in place, right, without necessarily stifling growth, without necessarily stifling the economic opportunities that we are leveraging and gaining from these things, and also ensuring that it doesn't look like you are always trying to fight the people. So it looks like, we found an opportunity that can give us legal money legally, and you just want to clamp down on it and all of those things. So yes, I do believe that we can have better measures to ensure that a lot of the negative side and the negative impact on some of these things can be better managed, so that we're not deeming what looks like a positive light coming out of an innovation, that would possibly help us to ensure that we have better payment processes.
When you talk about digital economy in Nigeria, for instance, people will say, this has always been, when it comes to other nations of the world, you mentioned America, you mentioned Germany, you mentioned all of that. Let's bring it home now to Nigeria. When it comes to digital economy, how are we? Do you think we have made tremendous improvement, or we're just getting there, or it's just baby steps? I know we have a lot. I know the answer already, but I just want to ask you as an expert, where are we? Are we making headway, or we're just going back and forth, or we're in the middle?
Okay, so my organization since 2020 has empowered and trained over 500,000 beneficiaries across the 36 states. That number looks very huge.
Yes, it does.
But then when you compare that number to the average population in the country,
and impact which is making.
Exactly. So it looks like we are doing a lot, but there is a lot more to be done, right? When you look at, I think the digital and creative sector and economy is very visible when you look at the quality of life of people within that community.
Exactly.
I think about 2 weeks ago, I entered a bus, one of these our long buses, and then I realized I didn't have money on me, and I was like, let me drop. And then I told the conductor, let me drop, I need to, get money. And he was like, no, you can make a transfer.
Really?
In a public bus in
Abuja.
Now, of course, that would not solve our problems, but when you see a lot of these innovations, translated into the common man's life, you want to go and buy goat meat in the small markets that you have within your house, and you're able to make a transfer.
Yes,
that is huge, right? You want to be able to have that same meat delivered to your house, using a rider, using a Bolt app. That is technology, helping. But then how much of it has been infused? So the digital economy can really be judged not by how many people are certified, right, which is a good metrics, or how many people are trained, how many people can use a computer. But then how has that process bettered, the quality of life and the quality of life and our way of living. So that's how we truly judge whether or not the country is going towards a positive light or is going negative. But I think currently we're going towards a positive trend. Yes, it would take a couple of years. It would take time. It would be a painful process, but I think we're heading towards the right direction.
Let's talk about regulation. It's very important, so we don't make it an all-comers affair with our tech space. When you look at how we regulate today, of course, the NCC, Nigerian Communications Commission, is big on that front, and that's the reason when we're having these debates of some kind last year over data tariffs, there were people who thought the NCC intervened on the side of the operators, the service providers, all right, the telcos, because they felt, on the one hand, analysts who tried to be dispassionate, stay on the fence, did say that the NCC plays a very sensitive role in such a way that while it has, as part of its remits or mandates, to protect consumers, all right, it also has a responsibility to ensure that the operators, the service providers, are not unnecessarily exposed to risks that ought not to, that can be mitigated, if you like. My question now is, would you say the sector is fairly regulated? Would you say the sector is regulated in such a way that it ultimately is a win-win for the guy who uses data-related services as well as for the telcos themselves?
I think unfortunately where we are as a country, we can't have a win-win situation until
even at this moment,
any potential for a vast majority of the citizens in the country vastly improves, right? We currently look at what the minimum wage is currently in the country. Not everyone has implemented it,
right?
But then if we're looking at 77,000, I think the last report that, I think it was PiggyVest that released that, or one of these banks, they said that less than 10% of Nigerians have over 200,000 in their bank account, and that's a very concerning number, right? And when we say win-win situation, we're talking about a situation where the service providers win, so they are making their profits, everyone is fine, and then you also have the people who pay for the services, right? They are able to afford it easily. So until we get to the point where the earning potential of the country vastly improves, we might not have a win-win. We'll always have a situation where it looks like, okay, the service providers are quoting billions, in profits every year. Well, the average person is still struggling to be able to, afford internet access. So I think that the NCC is in a very tricky, position right now. Because they're trying as much as possible to ensure that they are not stifling growth. Because let's not forget that the service providers, they are employing Nigerians. People work there too. And as a private and profit, run organizations, their aim is to make profits. So NCC has to make that balance in such a way that you protect the interests of the consumers, which are the Nigerians. But how do you protect the interests of consumers in this context when, of course, people are spending almost half of their salaries to afford data, or we have people who can't even afford data because of how low they are earning. So I think it's a very difficult position for an entity to be, and I think that we can always have a middle ground while we slowly move to what the short-term solutions are, the long-term, the medium-term, and as well as the long-term solutions. In terms of when you look at how you're pricing, while I understand that profit needs to be made for investors, right? But then you now look at the earning potential of your customers, especially in Nigeria. Right. It is very clear that there is a huge disparity between the cost of data as well as the average earning of the Nigerian.
Goodness, let me just put you on the spot a little bit. Why? Because you are a Nigerian and you matter. Now let us talk about e-transmission when it comes to the digital economy world. Now, do you think it will serve when it comes to our elections, e-transmission, when you can monitor and all of these that you've said, you mentioned the phone, you don't have to be on the internet, you don't have to have this and that. What's your take when it comes to e-transmission?
I think that's something that we have to embrace because of where we're heading as a country. And not just embrace that because that is what is trending or that is what is
applicable,
right,
for each and every one of us to monitor.
Exactly, but then we unfortunately have a system where we've lost trust, especially over the years. I have currently seen at least maybe 3 election cycles, and I understand what the process looks like, from the violence to the doctoring of results and all of that. And people are just craving for an alternative system that looks transparent, that looks efficient, that looks better, right? So the e-transmission is something that everyone is looking at it as an alternative to say, okay, look,
We can have a system where no one has to travel from Abuja, from maybe Cross River State or maybe from Bayelsa to Abuja to carry the physical results.
True.
Right, where everyone can sit at the comfort of their homes and can see the results, being transmitted in real time, being uploaded in real time.
Yes.
Why can't we try out that process? Why can we not, see if this makes the process better? So when we have a system where it feels like there's a low trust within the citizen, exactly, people want and yearn different alternatives, better options, right? To be able to say, okay, let's test this thing. Because if we're going to repeat the same thing over and over and over, my dad just turned 70 last year.
Congratulations to your dad.
Thank you. He has seen lots of elections and he is fed up. He's fed up with Nigeria having to repeat exactly the same process while expecting a different result.
Exactly.
So you have people looking at that process and saying, why don't we try something different? Why don't we try to embrace that, especially using, leveraging the technology that we have?
Exactly.
So I think that's just my thoughts on that.
But do you think it's the way to go, though? Do you think there will be headway when it comes to embracing that aspect when it comes to e-transmission?
No, I think that is something that can definitely be embraced. Like I said, it's about trying something different. Because the alternative to that is reverting to what we have been using previously and what people have been complaining for years and years and decades now. You have the issue of, election violence. You have the issue of, bribery and what have you. So
not being accurate.
Exactly.
Transparent.
Exactly. And all that. People are like, why can't we try something
new
and
different?
Right. Just so that we don't achieve the same results that we have been getting, over the last couple of decades since 1999.
I think that Jumai asked a very insightful question there, but I also would like us to expand it a little further. I've spoken with election monitors, those who have done this since 1999, when we returned to this fourth, democracy. And they say, can't we, if you like, take a cue from the Nigerian Bar Association, an entity that has been conducting their own elections electronically, 100% digitally for quite a number of years now.
And accurate.
Exactly. So when you look at the results again, the outcome of the process, you are more than impressed. In fact, you're blown away. So they say, can't INEC and indeed the election monitoring, if you like, system in this country take a cue from that? However, we're seeing politicians in their core elements argue that no, it's not possible. Let's stick with what we know. Don't ditch your winning formula. Let's stay with the status quo until when circumstances, technically speaking, improves, right? On the other hand, we are seeing telecoms operators say that it is possible. We have the infrastructure, we have the backbone, we have the resources to provide whatever critical services are required of us to, as it were, drive an electoral process that is 100% digital. I wish we could bring your dad here because he has seen both sides of the coin, as they say. But you being a tech-savvy person, what are your thoughts in this regard?
I think I'm completely very surprised a lot of times when I see the backlash from a lot of our leaders in the government when it comes to embracing, inclusion of technology within some of these our processes. Because we've seen a lot of processes in Nigeria change. Nigeria is not perfect in any way. But then, as I'm sitting here, I can buy airtime with my phone with internet and without internet. This is a law. I'm using the USSD code, right? You can buy, This was not the case 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you physically have to walk to a call center to buy a paper and load it. Today, we have JAM that is written on a computer for everybody compulsory, whether you have seen a computer, whether that's your first time seeing a computer, whether that is,
exactly, or a rookie.
You must write it. We've seen applications, move, digital. Now, none of this process are perfect, right? We still have, a lot of issues with, some of the electronic things that we've done, but no one has ever said introducing technology to a process will completely and 100% make it perfect.
Right.
Or completely eliminate some of the concerns, right?
Or challenges.
Exactly. I remember the first time when JAM was, JAM Electronic using computer to write JAM.
The CBT system.
Exactly. It was around 2013. And I remember that particular year, there were two options where you can either write with your paper or you can write to the computer, and people chose. And then gradually the paper method was phased out. It does not completely remove some of the challenges associated with it, but you can see how far and how long we've come since then, right? Now, the concern when it comes to some of the electoral practices that we have in Nigeria is that there is low trust. We're literally seeing situations and contexts where, there's issue of violence, there's issue of change results. I remember in the last election where in my own center, in my own estate, a certain candidate who I will not mention won by a landslide, but what was uploaded was a completely different.
Are you kidding me?
So was it a case of all the addresses what I got?
Exactly.
And this was because there was a huge fight because the person there did not want to upload, did not want to do it in real time and all of that. And then I'm wondering how the message you're going to preach to me in the coming 2027 election that I will leave my house the same way I did 4 years ago. I left my house by 5:30 a.m. Good thing it was just within the estate, so I went to the central hub there. There was music and all of that. Okay. I don't know how you're going to convince me to do exactly that same thing if I believe that we're going to be doing exactly what we have been doing previously. Now, this is just me who have just started voting within maybe the last 2 election cycles. Imagine trying to convince my dad of that. Now, so a lot of people have seen the challenge that are currently involved with the new system. And I don't even have to be a tech person to demand, can we try something different?
No.
Can we try something better?
Exactly.
Can we try something more efficient?
Something new.
Something new, right? So I completely disagree with let's stick to what works. It's not working. We're calling for a change because it's not working.
Right.
If it did work, then we would now ask the question, why change it? Why change if it works? But the question is, or the issue is that it does not work. Right? And there are a lot of concerns and challenges around it. So what baby steps can we take? I don't think there would ever be 100% perfect solution where everybody is happy. But what can we try? What can we phase in, just to ensure that this process is better, is more efficient, and most importantly puts the trust back to the citizens.
Very important. And that's where you tech gurus come in, sit on a round table and finalize and see the way forward as the young youths. And of course, for that national development is very important in Nigeria. So all the tech gurus come together on a table, sit down and tell us how our electoral process can actually, we can actually transmit through the e-transmission and make headway, at least something different from the tech world itself. We're there, we're rooting for you all.
Yeah, we're rooting.
All right, just a bonus question before we let you off now. Good news. I'd like us to talk about health. How tech drives health. We're seeing some sort of, if you like, fusion, all right, between tech and health. In the case of Nigeria, to what extent would you say, maybe on a scale of 10, are we integrating tech into healthcare delivery processes?
I would say that maybe that's between a 3 and a 4. And the reason I say this is because I have done a lot of projects relating tech and health. And when you look at the core part of the challenge we have in health is the operationalization systems and institutions that we have. You go to a primary care center and nobody at any point or a typical primary care center can tell you how many staff there are as at this month. So you have a 27th or 25th of the month where you have to pay salaries for a particular primary center. It feels like nobody can tell you exactly who came to work, who did not come to work. So you end up paying 90 persons when you go on a typical day, you only find 35. Now, what process can you typically put in that process, in a place like that? You put in a thumbprint scanner where you don't have to chase anybody.
So you have to digitally clock in and clock out?
Yeah. So I don't have to think, so who came, who did I see which day, who did I not see which day? When you have, something as easy as a thumbprint.
There's a data.
Yeah, exactly. So data doesn't lie. I don't have to run around to say how many people came, how many people didn't come. Now, what are some of the data, processes? So you have things like, medication stockouts. You have things like vaccination, routine immunization, right? How are you able to track what quantity is needed, right? What are some of the data-driven insight that you can use? By just using an Excel to compute, have patient records, to be able to have, doctor distribution, to be able to have the number of nurses, so that, how many children that you have in a primary center. So, also based on the patient load, based on the outputs, we might need more staff. Being able to justify decisions, being able to justify funding requests, right? This can be made better with technology. Are we seeing more of this? Yes, but could we have more? Yes, definitely. So I think that health is probably one of the very high-rising sectors where we're really seeing the infusion of digital technology.
Working hand in hand. Fantastic.
Well, incidentally, that's much I want to talk to you about this morning. We've been talking with Good News. Akwawo is the Programs and Partnerships Officer at Woodlab here in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, sharing insights on the marriage, so to say, between tech and several other critical sectors. Yes. And I can tell you that it's been riveting, engaging, and very insightful as well. And this is the point at which we're also hoping that Nigeria will continue to put its best foot forward and not play catch-up in the Committee of Nations. So again, we'll say we appreciate your insights on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, goodness, for your wheels of knowledge on tech, digital economy.
All right, so let's take a break now. In a minute, we'll come back and do a wrap of what's happening in the political space. Do stay with us. All right, so as it stands today, we realize that, the political landscape in Nigeria is fast changing, which simply means that the opposition dynamics are changing, and that's happening real fast. Yesterday, for example, we had more than a handful of senators and members of the House of Representatives now leaving their respective parties, and including, interestingly, the PDP, and moving to the African Democratic Congress, that's the ADC. So while that on one hand is a big win, significantly humongous win for the ADC, the APC says we still at this point do not have opposition in Nigeria, because they say they already see themselves winning big time across board, end to end, top to bottom in 2027.
Okay. I'll just say an okay to that, but 2027 will say it all.
It's upon us, right?
Yeah, it is. I will know whether they're winning or not, and we'll see the impact in which they're making and all of that. But basically, everyone will say they're winning when it comes to these issues of election. Right. But at the same time, 2027 is just around the corner. It's not far-fetched, so we'll see.
Well, we wish that the best man would win, but in all, we also want to see Nigeria go from point A to point B in critical areas, the economy, agriculture, health, education, infrastructure, what have you. But more importantly, that going forward, the conversation should center around development and not just narrative peddling and all of these familiar traditional rhetorics that citizens are already very used to. It must be constructive. The goal and the motivation mustn't be about somebody who is trying to take a pound of flesh. It should be about how we can propose better ideas to drive growth across sectors in our country. And that's our program for you today. Incidentally, is the last for the business week. Just to also remind you that the views of our guests across all of our programs, including here on Global Morning, are their opinions. I am Uyi Agmofwegwe, reminding you that a big weekend is upon us.
And I am Jumai Manson. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program. And of course, our guests, goodness, thank you so much for being a part of the program. And from we and I, we will say bye-bye.